It is Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, and that means only one thing. It is time for Tuesday Night Live with Chiro Destiny, Rick and Brett, along with one of our very own lump of clay molded and shaped into the very awesome Dr. Austin Cohen, the best hair in the biz from Hotlanta, Georgia. And Austin, thanks for staying up late. We know it's past your bedtime.
I knew I was going to get that joke, by the way, originally when you started this conversation.
Yes, that's why
I appreciate that. You know me very well.
I do.
Except it's the same joke he uses every Tuesday night, but don't feel bad.
One trick pony, bro. And if you brought something else to the table other than the hair, I'd use that. Hey, a kid. Anyway, it is great to see you, brother. We love you. You have been part of Chiro Destiny and part of us. We've been working with you, watching you grow, watching you dominate. So first of all, thank you. And why don't you just start with just giving us a little bit of what's been going on. I know you're doing all sorts of great stuff, but why don't you just tell Brett, just to catch him up, what you've been up to with your offices in Georgia, and now you're opening a few new ones in other different states. Give us the whole vision.
Yeah, so appreciate you having me on. Brett, thank you, Brett, for all the coaching you've done for me over these years, by the way. I mean, if it wasn't for Brett, I really don't know where I'd be here right now. You know, hanging out with Flavor Flav and Brett one night in the Marriott Hotel in Marietta, Georgia, really changed my life. But that's a story for another night.
I forgot about that.
But you know, what's been going on this year? Listen, it's a lot's gone on this year. A lot of adaptation, a lot of pivoting, a lot of leadership. And through that, we've seen a lot of growth. So we've opened up 3 new clinics this year. We opened up East Cobb in Marietta, Georgia, August 1st, the most saturated market in the United States for chiropractic. Then we just recently opened up in King of Prussia in Philadelphia. We opened up today. Saw our first 2 new patients today, Dr. Skyler McCormick. He's a rock star. Hopefully he's on the call tonight. Probably passed out though by now after day 1 of practice. And then in 30 days from now, we open up in Beaufort, South Carolina. So
what's that in total? How many practices in total?
So that'll get us up to 10 practices total. And what's really cool is 2 weeks ago, we just got notification that we made the Inc. 5000 for top 5,000 companies in the world, or the country. We were number 3926 of national companies in the US for corrective chiropractic. So that was so that's a pat on the back to you guys. That's like that's not just a me award, right? That's like an us award. So thanks to you guys for helping everything.
So you branded this whole conglomerate under Corrective Chiropractic.
Correct. Yes. And everything falls under Corrective Chiropractic. Everything that we do, the structure, the core values, the mission, the vision, everything that we stand for. And honestly, what's been really cool is since March, we had our first conversation March 12th when all this started to happen. When we started to see a trend of people's behaviors and patterns, I called a company call on March 12th. And that was really the first call about to attack what's going on in society. And so, you know, we really stuck true to our core values. I mean, we have 4 core values. We went after them hard, and we put certain adaptations and certain specific strategies behind each one on how are we going to grow and how are we going to adapt on what's going on in the world. So that was really cool.
So if you could help us out a little bit, share, if you don't mind, some of your core values. So you had 4.
Yeah, so we have 4 core values. One of them is patients first. So one of the big ones was, so patients first. That was one of them. E9, which stands for an excellence of 9 and above. Everything that we do is a 9. Family, which means our patients and us are family. And then the last one was the wow factor. Mm-hmm. So for instance, we want, whenever somebody walks into our office, we want them to say, wow, that's what I was thinking. So it's kind of like if you were to go to a St. Regis or a Ritz-Carlton, they know what you're thinking before you have to ask for it. And so we want to have that same experience. So an example is on our paperwork. When most doctors send out paperwork, they send you an email, it's got a PDF, and then you've got to print out the PDF, and then you got to fill it out. It's a nightmare. You'd rather just wait to get to the office and fill out the paperwork. So one of our wow factors is we send you a link with the paperwork in our day 1 email, and then you just click a link, fill it out like a DocuSign, and it kicks it right back to us and saves it directly, right? So that's like one. Another one was we recently started carrying cold brew and kombucha actually in office, complimentary to our clients. So it's cool because our clients come in and they say, how much is this? So it's free. It's, it's part of the experience here. So, if you'd like to grab some, we also have compression boots if you'd like to use those as well, completely complimentary. So it's just these like value adds and wow factor experiences we wanted to create as we've gone in through the last few months. So just add more. When a lot of companies are like taking things away right now, we wanted to add more and give back to our clients.
So let's take us back to March 12th. I'm just curious about that. So the world is about to end. The pandemic hits. So did this call take place before they announced the pandemic or around the same time?
As things were changing, it happened as we started to see behaviors changing in our patients, right?
Right.
We started to see, some people were scared when they came to the office. We started to get a couple calls of like, hey, what are the protocols you guys are taking into place?
Right.
And I'm not in New York, right? So I'm in Atlanta. So when I started to see behavior changing here, I was like, okay. And we could have gone on personal beliefs for what we personally believe, but we knew that public perception, we had to adapt to public perception. So March 12th, we have this company call, and I wanted everybody to understand, first off, everybody's safe. We're going to figure this out. I know it's scary times right now, but no, we're going to create systems and strategies to make sure that we grow through these times, and nobody's giving up. Nobody's getting fired. We're going to make sure this happens. And I mean, some of the docs right now and some of the staff are on the call right now, so they could testament to some of the stuff we did. But we immediately, March 15th, so March 12th was our company call. That night, I set up on March 15th, this was a company workshop for all of our patients at every office. We had Dan Sullivan talking about chiropractic and the nervous system. We had a naturopathic doctor in Atlanta speak on healthy living. And then we had a guy who specialized in standard process supplements and what are the best supplements to take for antiviral and to build your immune system. So we had these three professional speakers, and there were hundreds of people live on this call. And it was just a way for us to like kind of kickstart that thing we called it Operation Renegade, which is like our operation through COVID. So we even like made bands for it.
Love it.
And then what's cool is recently, and then June 1st, we converted it into Operation Rebirth. So we moved into like our new operation after we've gotten through what's called Operation Renegade, because most practices right now are starting to really grow again.
Yes.
So that's kind of what the rebirth is all about. So that was kind of and then every month we've done a company call since, company meetings since there. And just implemented a lot of different things to give back to our patients, to serve the community, to be there for them, to listen to their concerns, not put on our beliefs on them,
right?
But like have them share what are their beliefs and concerns. So we really want to be there for them.
So I just want to take it back one little thing further. Yeah. And Brett, I'm sure you picked up on it, and I want to make sure everyone else did. The thing that just made Austin's eyes light up and speak in such certainty is when he started to talk about systems, right? And, we've been teaching for all these years that systems run a practice, but people run the systems. And, when we started working with you, Austin, when it was just your practice, I think you were maybe out maybe a year and a half, something like that. And, grown so much from there. We'll talk about the increase in your vision in a few minutes. But talk to us about the thing that you feel that systems do for your certainty, for when you're trying to get a message out to your community. Why is it that systems are so pivotal?
For us, for me personally, it makes my life easy, right? I think I don't know who would tell me this. I think maybe one of you guys was always like, systems, save yourself time, energy, money. That's what system stands for. And, it allows me to do the things that I need to do from a visionary perspective in order to grow if we can develop that. And honestly, it makes things look clean. So here's a great example, like for just to know like how much of a system guy I am. So we knew that, March, April, May, we used to have it where people would come in and they would sign an iPad. That's how they would like sign in through ChiroTouch in your office. Well, most people got uncomfortable touching an iPad in March, April, May, because they felt like it was dirty or whatever it was. So we were like, all right, guys, that's not going to work. And the problem, what I saw was, so I'm really good at seeing problems and then solving it. And one of the problems we saw was because we weren't doing iPads, the office managers would then have to check in a patient manually. They would have to take their temperature manually. And it would take time away from them, energy away from them. They would skip maybe certain people. Then it would get backed up when they're trying to answer their phone. They got a temperature check. So here's a great system we implemented. Now, when you come in, there's these automatic scanners. You put your head next to it, Bluetooth. It just scans it real quick. It's on this company called Gorilla Gadgets. It automatically takes your temperature. And then we now created loyalty cards that go on patients' keychains where now they automatically scan in. So now everything is touchless and very streamlined. And now the loyalty cards, now we can work with our business partners to build more relationships in the community, to now work with our business partners, which kind of goes back towards like, some of our core values. And so we saw something that wasn't working. We saw a flawed system. And so I'm weird. So I actually like when these type of things happen, when things get shaken up, because it exposes our weaknesses. And our weaknesses all got exposed in March, April, May. A lot of ours did in our practice specifically. And so we got to look at those and create better systems and structure behind that. But anytime I see, a CA or office staff or a chiropractor, whoever, I can see usually a flaw in one area. Usually we're pretty good at developing those systems to make it easy for everybody, so they can do what they're good at.
Well, one, it helps you, allows you to grow. Like you said, it takes care of the capacity. But you specifically, when people ask, well, how does an office see big volume? How does one person open up 10 practices and will continue to do that? The systems allow you to do that. It frees up your time. So people think, oh my God, you must be so busy night and day, blah. But really, with all these systems, it actually frees you up and it gives you more freedom.
Yeah, it's fun.
And it serves your patients a whole lot better, right? And your staff probably appreciates it even more.
It does. I was always told, like back in the days, they said, if you want to get something done, give it to somebody who's already really busy.
Right.
And it's, every time I always hear that, and then I forgot who even told me this one time. I told somebody one time, I remember said, oh, God, I'm so busy. They go, well, what do you do at 4 a.m.? I'm like, oh, I'm sleeping. They're like, but you could do something at 4 a.m., right? I'm like, well, I guess I could, but you're sleeping, so you value sleep over this. So you could wake up and get it done. So you have the time. So don't tell me you don't have the time. You have the time. You're just choosing something over the other. And I was like, all right, you're right. I agree with you. So, yeah, I mean, it's, I don't feel busy.
I was always taught if you want to get something done, you ask a smart, lazy person. Because you can get it done faster and easier. I don't know.
That is true.
So let's go back.
Yeah.
You're out of school. You're obviously, a personality guy. You're a crazy man. You're wound up. You're like the Energizer Bunny, doing your thing, ready to tackle. And you are everywhere. You're marketing everywhere. You're talking to everyone. You've got, got your one office, and you're really excited. You were really active in, creating your own clubs at Life University. I mean, so you're certainly not a shy guy. And at some point when we started very early on, we started talking about vision. And your vision back then was just more, right? More volume, more income, more new ones. Just, I want to grow. Tell them, how do I grow? And at some point, we got you to laser beam in on creating a crystal clear vision, right? It's one of the first things we ever worked on. Share with us how your vision evolved from just one practice and growing it to get to volume and making some money, et cetera, to now what you're experiencing.
So let's go back to, I think it would preface to start the story with 2009 when I first opened. I started if you remember, I started in almost a depression, right? So when I started, you talk about all this marketing I did, it's because I had to. If you remember when I started, the stock market was like 8,000, unemployment was through the roof. Right. The housing market was crashing. People were scared with their money. So when I started my practice, it was in like the worst time ever. Everybody was saying, why are you starting a practice? The way I got my practice started was 2 ways. I sold all my bar mitzvah stock, and I took out $30,000 of credit cards that needed to be paid back in 12 months with 0% APR, if you remember. So I was forced to either sink or swim. And so I was able to fortunately get it growing. And for me, I feel fortunate to go through that, because going through what we're going through right now feels pretty easy, actually.
Right.
But I like it because it's making me not be comfortable. Like, I've been comfortable the last few years, to be honest. Opening a clinic now for me is, I could open up 10 tomorrow if I really wanted to, right? That's not hard anymore, because I feel like I went through so much. But to get back to what you were asking about for vision standpoint, though, the ultimate vision was one practice, one CA, 300 people a week. That was it. That was really all I ever wanted to do. Felt like that was my capacity. When the 5th year I was in practice, I decided it was time to, expand more. But the reason why was because we were getting a lot of referrals from a general manager at a gym. He was sending us so much business. He's like, hey man, you got to open up in our gym. I can send you so many clients. I was like, all right, yeah. And I could probably make more money. So let me do that. So then I opened that up, but you heard what I said, right? Because I want to make more money. And Rick probably remembers this very well. So I hired a chiropractor, we put him in there. I thought all I had to do was hire a chiropractor, put him in there, and we would be successful. Because I was like, all he has to do is do what I did. That's it. He just needs to do what I did and he'll be successful. Wah, wah, wah. I just remember Rick calling me, and I'm not allowed to use the language he called me multiple times over this, Facebook and social media call right now, but it was foul language. He yelled in my face because it was poor leadership. And listen, he was right. I follow the model now, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. I mean, everybody in our business follows that model, Jocko Willink, from office managers, social media people, our insurance people, or whoever it is. They all follow the same model. Doctors, everybody. I took extreme ownership on that. And by the way, real quick, I'm going to side note, Mikey and the Dragon, for all of you who have kids, my son loves the book, Mikey and the Dragons. It's a book for kids and talking about leadership. But I thought it was just passive income. For those looking to expand their vision, thinking passive income is the way through multiple practice, I can tell you you're wrong. I do it now and I'm very successful at it now. I love watching young chiropractors grow and be successful. I love it. It is one of my most favorite things. I love watching communities change based on young chiropractors being able to show up as leaders in their community and grow to evolve where they can eventually open up more practices through the systems that we've created. So, it took about a year or two for Rick to really punch me in the face with his verbal abusiveness.
It was pattern interruption.
It was great, but it had me learn that, for those of you people that want multiple locations, you got to define the why. And I didn't do that at first. For me, it was more money, and that was wrong. And that wasn't the way to do it. As time went on and I understood my vision and what I really was powerful of and what I was capable of creating, and seeing that happen, instilling that leadership in other people, wow, like that really, then my why really kicked on. So from there, we've been able to, year 5 in practice when we opened up our second location, and we've been averaging about usually between 2 to 4 locations a year. Now this year will be 3. Last year, I think was 2, and the year before was 4. So it just kind of changes based on year to year, how many we open.
So as I'm listening to you, and I want everybody, all of our listeners and people who will watch this over the next few days, few weeks, whatever, the things that you're talking about is, one, creating an experience or multiple experiences in your practice. The wow experience I wrote down, E9, family, patients first. That's an experience that needs to be created in a practice. So those were your 4 values. Then you talked about basically understanding your why, as you just mentioned here before. So, and then being clear about what your vision is. So regardless of the environment that we're in, like you said, March 12th, you had this crazy call to start. So we're going to tackle it. We're going to meet this head on. We're going to break through it regardless of what's happening around us. If we're clear about who we are and what we want, our why is big enough, our purpose, our vision is big enough. It won't matter the environment, because you started, back in 2009, like you said, it was a crazy environment then. Now you're into a pandemic now, and you're busting through it. You're growing through it now. So if you can do it, obviously, then many more people can do it. But you did it, and you did it successfully and effectively. Again, your vision was clear. You knew what your value system was, and so did your team, more importantly, right? And then you created, what's my why? Why are we doing all this? And when you're clear about all of that, everything begins to fall into place. I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not, but the systems will start to get generated. All the other things come off of this core value first. And that's what people need to understand. What you've done such a good job over all these years is that you get really clear about it. Then you put the systems into place, you utilize technology. And one thing I want to ask about is share with our audience some of the technology you've used, one, to create the systems, and how it's propelled you just to another level that people can learn from. You mentioned before, we talked about Gorilla Gadgets. That was one, but I'm sure there's other types of technology that you're utilizing as well.
So here are some really cool things that we've implemented that hopefully this can give some people ideas. And this could apply to any business, by the way, any service-based business. This isn't just for chiropractors.
Absolutely.
So, one of the things, like I said, we did is we knew touching iPads were just not the thing right now. So, so they come in, they do the forehead, they scan their loyalty card. But with that loyalty card when they start treatment in our office, they'll then get a letter on their second visit that has a card, a little small card that says, you received your loyalty card on your second visit. Here are all the discounts you can get at local businesses. people want to work together right now in today's world.
Right.
Local businesses want to work with each other. Gyms like Orange Theory Fitnesses, F45s, CrossFit gyms, yoga studios, Clean Juice, any of these places, they all want to work together and build relationships. These small businesses want cryotherapy places. So we built relationships with these local businesses, and they all now get a discount to them with this loyalty card. And here's what's really cool. We just implemented this like a month ago. Well, one of my patients texted me the other day and said, hey, look what I saw at the gym, one of your loyalty cards. Because now other people are going to see it. They're not going to forget about us because now they're on their keychain. It's another touch point, right? They say like you need 5 touch points for somebody to come into your business and begin, whatever it is. So that for us is just another touch point. So that was one thing. The other thing, here's a big one for us, right? If our core value is patients first, why in our office do we have, and I called this out on this, and I'm specifically calling myself out when I call people out on the call, but I said, why do we have posters and pictures up of the awards we've won? Who cares about that? Let's celebrate our patients. So now what we did is we have a 100, a 250, and a 500 club, lifestyle club for our practice. And we took down all the stuff about us. We got rid of everything about us in our practice. And on there is now we're celebrating our patients. So we have a small Polaroid camera. When a patient reaches a 100 visit, a 250 or 500, we take a picture of them. We put it up on this really nice like poster frame, and they get a gift from us. So there's a guy named John Rulin who has a company called Giftology. I highly recommend listening to any of his podcasts or any of his reading his book, but he's all about gifting. And I follow a lot of his stuff on just like his mindset and how he does it. Like most people, when they gift, they give out, for instance, like they'll give out like a koozie with their late logo on it. Like if I'm getting a gift from a company, I don't want their logo on my shirt. Like I don't want, so I want something tangible. So we started making everything about the patient experience. One of the other things that we did was we knew community was going to be huge, right? Like the biggest thing we knew were true colors were coming out in the last 6-7 months of people, either good or bad, but people's true colors were coming out. We wanted to set up a private Facebook. We didn't have a private Facebook group yet for our practice. So each clinic location set up their own private group. They do Facebook Lives in there. They're starting to do like, for instance, we do something called Health Hacks. It's on our Instagram page. So if you want to just like, use what we do, it's called, if you go to our Instagram page, just Corrective Chiro ATL, you can see some of the stuff we do to build community, but we have a podcast called Health Hacks every 2 weeks. But once again, it's another way to leverage business partners. So I can reach out to any business just that are on our loyalty cards and say, hey, I'd love to have you on Health Hacks. And what do they say? Well, how can we support you? Then we did another thing we did recently was called a loop giveaway, which is where you partner with multiple businesses. And basically I follow you, you follow me, tag your friends below. And if you go to our Instagram, you can see this, but then you pick a winner. And so we had like 30 people from this, because right now the marketing is on referrals and social media. That's really where it's at, right? We just got back into the community for doing events again, but referrals and digital marketing, that's where it's at. And the best digital marketing I've found, and I've tried a lot of digital marketers out from being paid, organic is like the best. But it all comes like, once again, the relationships and the community building. So those are a few of the things we've done. So I can't even describe to you how many things we've done since March 15th. I mean, we started selling community care kits. We knew people were home quarantining, so we developed these things called community care kits where patients could buy them, and we would either drop ship them to their house, or what we would do is we would just mail it to them. Standard Process has now a website that we help them develop that patients can order their supplements directly from Standard Process, and it'll ship it directly to the patient. So we developed immunity packets on there. So we're like, hey, so then we did webinars in our private Facebook group talking about immunity packets. So, I can't go into everything we did because this would like overwhelm 100 people, and I'm not going to do that. But the only thing I want people to get was we made everything the last 6 months about the patient, everything about them. And how can we support them? How can we support community and work together? And, the biggest thing, I told you one of our core values is E9. We changed that in the beginning of March 12th to E10. We expect everybody to be at a 10 or above these past like 7 months, because this is when you've got to be different. And your patients are expecting change. Like right now, when patients have been seeing us make all these changes and adaptations, they love it. I know, like for instance, like Rick knows this, but Lisa in Sandy Springs office, she revamped her entire practice, like new posters, new like structure, new tables everywhere. Patients love that. Like people are expecting change from you right now.
Right.
And if somebody's not changing or adapting, this is the time when either people like us or other chiropractors kind of leap up and move up to the next level. And I'll finish with this though, and any other questions you have, but we always treat our practices as if another chiropractor is going to open up next door. Always. Most chiropractors, what happens is another chiropractor opens up next door down the street and they're like, oh, now I need to start doing this. Now I need to start sending out thank you letters. Now I need to start doing private Facebook groups and sending birthday cards and doing this. No. We look at it as, okay, if somebody were to open up next door, would we change any of our systems? Would we change the community? Would we change the customer service experience? Would we change anything? And if the answer is yes, we need to do it now because somebody will always be opening up and we never need to be worrying about that. So that's kind of the mindset we took this.
Yeah, you want to go ahead, Rick?
Yeah, just real quick, because you have tons of chiropractors that are literally frozen because they can't do screenings and they can't do lectures. Yeah. And they get a couple referrals here and there. It's never been a strong point, and they're flapping in the breeze and calling us in panic. And when we use, it's obviously a very buzzy word right now about pivoting, right? You got to pivot, you got to change, you got to adapt, adapt or perish, all these things. So what you did was what we tell people to do was you have to stay relevant in your community in new and creative ways. And the same way where the obvious one is for the practices that do a lot of PI work is you have an attorney relationships and these people get referrals from attorneys. That's an obvious one. Well, why does it stop there? You found a way to say, you know what? Everyone knows about shopping small. You found shop small. You found other relationships with businesses that fit well into holism, chiropractic, vitalistic, health. You're an Ironman, you're a triathlete, you're a CrossFit guy. You took some of your passions where you now have some rapport with people, and you use that rapport to come up with creative ideas on how to help community members and help support other small businesses at the same time and put it together. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
and we think it's obvious.
Yeah.
But when all these other chiros, and these are guys and gals as well, they just got paralyzed because they can't just do a screening anymore. Where isn't it easier when you have relationships where it feeds itself, so you don't have to sit in the mall all weekend? Yeah. Now you have organic, grassroots, real relationships that help build each other.
And the biggest thing what I found was, listen, people right now want to feel safe. That's the number one thing people want to feel. They want to feel safe in any business that they go into. And so for us, like, we make them feel safe. We all wear masks. We all, we do the protocols necessary in order for patients to feel safe in our office. And what that's led to is a significant amount of referrals. We have had, I can't even count the amount of dollars. By the way, this is a 5-figure number. How much money total our practices have collected because their chiropractor wouldn't wear masks, or they wouldn't have hand sanitizer in their office. I know in Lisa's office, she got 3 new patients because the chiropractor down the street refused to wear a mask. And so we're making our patients feel safe, which is why they feel comfortable referring. So what's happened in the last month or two, we've got a lot of kids in the office. Why? Because we're promoting how kids are virtual learning, which is true. And they're all in front of computers from 8 to 2. So they need their spines checked and adjusted. They've got to be getting adjusted. A lot of the fathers now who used to travel, who were consultants, they're all home. They're not traveling anymore. So now they have the time to take care of themselves. And we have a lot of consultant business is huge in Atlanta with the airport right here. So we've been taking care of a ton of the consultants. So it's just been an opportunity to really build that, credibility with our patients, build that trust factor through the private Facebook group, become humans and become part of that community with them. And then through that, it's led to just a ton of referrals, because people always ask me how do y'all get so many referrals right now? Well, we're asking for them. Yes. And we have some systems put in place for it, but it's really happening because of what we've done over time, over the last 6 months, of the trust we've built and the community we've built. So it's not an overnight thing, but it all comes out of community.
I want to pivot for a moment. Speaking of pivoting, I want our listeners to know what your process is. So let's go to when you're going to open up a new office. Let's just say, what is your process to finding a doctor to partner with, associates in your practice, or partner with in a satellite office, or whatever it is? How do you train the staff? How do you find the right staff? How do you find the right doctors? What's the process you go through? Because we have people that can't find an associate, can't find the right new 1CA for their practice. And here you are opening multiple offices, not even in your town in other states. And somehow you seem to be doing that. So what would you say to that?
So this could be like literally a 2-hour conversation.
By the way, you got less than 5 minutes. No,
I'm gonna cut this very short.
Okay.
But for us, once again, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about. When somebody wants to get referrals, what does it come down to? Come down to building trust. To get great doctors to want to work with you, what does it come down to? Building great business that they want to work with.
Right.
And so it's taken a lot of time. So, for example, we do these events called showcase events where we do them once a quarter, once every 6 months now. And we invite prospective doctors, prospective students to it. We show them what we're about, how we care, how we're different, the systems we have, the success that usually happens pretty quickly in our systems. The training that goes into it. I mean, I'm not going to go into all the details behind it, but it's pretty rigorous. The training protocols that we have, for example, and I'll give one technology tool that we do use that's very helpful. We use Trainual. So everybody should be documenting all their systems. We use Trainual. You can go on a Trainual. You can put all your systems in there, develop them really well. It is awesome. And then we use Slack as our internal communication software for our practice. It's free, but in there, that's where we post, any issues that we have in the practice, anything that needs to get done. We have a special doctors channel. Each practice has their own forum group. So like if your practice does between 0 to 25K, you're in the Fuji forum. 25 to 50K, you're in the K2 forum. And then anything over 50K revenue, you're in the Everest forum. And what this is these are like monthly meetings you gather with your doctors who are in that same space as you. You talk about, things that are working, things that aren't working. And then usually somebody will do a presentation and then they'll get feedback from the rest of the group, not telling them what they need to do, but hey, here's what worked for me, type thing. So there's a lot that goes into it. And that's just some of the small bits and pieces, but I pour a lot, and my doctors will tell you this, I pour everything I can into them. I'm there for them 24/7. I've got their back through it. If they're sick, I'll cover their practice. I think the reason why we're so successful is because we've built that over the last few years and people want to work with us. So it's kind of cool now where we're kind of hand selecting who we work with. But getting involved at Life, I'm now on the board of Life now for the alumni board. I now sponsor Life Force. So it's all about recruiting. It's like what the Mets could do, but they don't do.
And what about training staff?
And so training staff, we use Trainual for the training system. And it's usually our docs will peak with us. They'll intern with us as part of the peak program at Life University. It's a 6-month program. So they'll do that. But what we do though is usually I have them in my office before. So Dr. Schuyler, who's the new doc that just opened up today in King of Prussia, he came to me 4 years ago when he started chiropractic school. I found him and he was like, hey, I've heard about your practice. I want to work with you as I'm in school. So he was doing screenings with me like first, second quarter. So,
you developed him right away, that relationship from day one.
And that's that's the luck part of my business where I'm about 15 minutes from Life University.
Awesome.
So that's the luck factor where I have access to them easily to recruit. And then the CA for the CA trainings, usually they'll come into our Buckhead office, our main office, and they'll train there for a while. But once again, it's because we've documented all of our systems and there's regular calls, there's regular coaching call. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it.
All systems, exactly.
And by the way, Austin, you brought something up, which was 2 things. Number one is you take personal joy in watching them get successful.
Correct.
And I will challenge the other docs that have associates that got these associates so they can go hanging on their boat while the associate does the work. You got associates and you're working harder to make sure they're successful. And we always say, when you hire associate docs, it's a 2-way relationship. Your promise to them is that you're going to help them turn into the most successful chiropractor they can be. If they decide to move to Mars, they're going to be the most successful chiropractor in their area, wherever they decide to go for their journey. They are offering up that they're going to sign on the dotted line and they're going to give you their blood, sweat, and tears the same way you're going to give to them. So it's that reciprocity on that relationship. So I think just you understood the relationship of what that associate means to you and what you mean to them, and you both deliver on the promise. The other thing is, not only didn't you get lazy, but you travel, you go to each office, you visit with them in person. And I believe that people will follow a leader that's willing to get their hands dirty. The ones that are sitting in their back office with their feet up while the associate's running around and the staff is running around, and it just shows such a disrespect and such a lack of leadership that not only are you not building allegiance, but you're building resentment. So docs, we will always caution you, when you bring on a team, when you bring on associates and CAs and office managers and whatever you want, you better keep your hands dirty. I'm not saying don't take time off. I'm not saying don't work, see patients less or whatever your vision is. That's fine. But you better make sure that everyone's emotional needs are met. You make sure their professional needs are met. You make sure their goals are being achieved, their personal goals, their financial goals, their professional goals. You match you help them get where they want. They will help you get where you want.
And honestly, I think one of the biggest things is, one thing I've learned a lot over the last couple of years is leadership. And that has been my word over these last few years, is understanding leadership and how that works. And I would challenge everybody, that is one of the biggest things. Like, I love developing people into leaders, right? So our associate, my number one, my key player in Buckhead, she is literally like runs she probably wants me to leave the practice, by the way, just so she can take care of it by herself. But she's now coaching another doc in our practice to step up. She's coaching 2 other chiropractors in our organization. So we call them entrepreneurs. So they're building these, they're essentially their own entrepreneur within the system. So they're entrepreneurs in Corrective Chiropractic, where they're able to grow themselves and be leaders within Corrective Chiropractic. And that's what I want, right? Like, I want them to be leaders as well within this group. And so it's been really cool to watch that, but it all started with me. And I think Brett pulled it out just a second ago, but that book, Extreme Ownership, is you take ownership on every single thing. If a practice is failing, it's not because of them, it's because of me. Because I didn't train them enough. I didn't tell them what to do.
Right.
I didn't help them. I didn't guide them. I didn't coach them. If it keeps happening, well, now it's again my fault again, because I didn't fire them quick enough. So ownership. Everybody in our practice, we have almost 40 staff members. Everybody takes ownership on everything that happens, no matter who it is. That's a big.
And I think what we try to teach at Chiro Destiny is, as a leader, it's what can we do for you? How can we help you? How can we help you to become the best version of you? How can we have you have the best experience possible? Whether that's a patient, whether that's a staff member, whether that's an associate doctor, whether it's whoever, that's the question you have to ask yourself. But a lot of people have that backwards, is they expect, what can you do for me? And that's where it goes wrong. And I think that's why people struggle with those relationships. So I'm going to really emphasize, as Austin and Rick both have said, you got to build relationships, and you got to turn it around and say, how can I serve you? How can I help you? And when you start to look at it that way, and you show appreciation and gratitude towards that person, assuming they're the right person, because it has to start with having hired the right person to begin with. And if they're not, then they can't be there. But assuming that they are, that's what you have to help them evolve. But you have to give everything you've got into that person or persons or team or whatever it is. And that's what you've done so effectively, Austin. And that's why people are willing to follow you wherever. And that's what I want our listeners to understand. The most successful leaders, whether it's chiropractic or any other vocation, it doesn't matter. It's what you're doing for them. They will absolutely follow. If you're in the trenches with them and they see that and feel that, that's what they're looking for. And they will follow that. But when you're sitting in the back office, not doing anything and expecting them to do everything and expecting them to do for you, that's where the problem comes in.
I will say, and I'll finish with this, is, this is actually a perfect, ending point, is a lot of what I do. And I've over the last 5 years, I've been a part of, I'm still a part of it, EO, which is an entrepreneur organization. I have, one of my coaches right now, he's opened up, 70 McDonald's. So he's opened up multiple locations. So I've gotten to work with him. But the best coaching I ever got was from you guys. And so the reason why it was the best coaching is because it's all about who you are as a person. And that, to me, is, I don't care how good somebody's systems are, their procedures. To me, it's not about money. It's not about procedures, not about systems. I love going to bed at night, knowing I've done the right thing at the day. I've got a great team who I work with every day. I've got a great family life. Like, that's why I look up to you guys and what you guys have created. You guys are great, obviously with Rob and everything, but great marriages you guys both had, great kids relationships. You're still in practice. Like, those are things I look up to. So like, kind of how you were saying, my docs look up to me because I'm still in the trenches, but I look up to you guys because you guys are in the trenches. I think what you guys have done over the last however many years, I've been with you guys, even when it was just the three feathers. Listen, it's honestly, it's big. And I wish more people, because the sad thing is so many people are looking for that quick fix, instant thing for their practice. It doesn't happen. I've gotten to where I am because of the things you guys have taught me over the years to develop who I am as a person. And you know what? Even if I didn't build all these practices, I still became a better person over the last 10 years. And that's what's the most important thing. So I thank you guys for that.
Well, thank you, and we appreciate that. And for those of you who are not members of ours and you want to end up liking Austin Cohen, give us a call. We'd love to help you too develop into the best version of yourself.
And it's actually interesting because, Austin, because of our travel limitations, we're actually doing our first virtual seminar ever, October 2nd and 3rd. And you and I talked about, it's such a nominal fee to just have your staff come, and it's including your whole office, because now we're doing CA breakouts. We have our own CA training stuff, and the ability for us to do our thing where you don't have to travel. There's almost no expense compared to normal. There's a lot of young chiros out there that need just what you said, that combination of headspace, philosophy, which you've always been very strong at, systems, and marketing. It's always those 4 pillars. And if we can, I think Kimberly just put the link up. If any of you are interested in coming to just look at Chiro Destiny seminar, and it's coming up October 2nd and 3rd virtually, and it's for your entire staff. If you could put those 4 pillars to work, starting with the headspace of success philosophy, of authenticity, of telling yourself the truth, of working on weaker areas, and all the things you went through. I mean, we could tell stories for all night about where your headspace was, where your fears were, where your focus was, how scattered things were, or misconceptions because of just self-awareness. And once you were willing to get uncomfortable and get down and dirty and really learn who you are and what your values were and what your core life, your dream life looked like, then you just had to put the systems and the action steps in order. And this is what happens 10 years later. It works.
Yeah.
Right.
Me talking to my docs now is basically you guys and my voice now. But the 2 biggest things I got from you guys were B plus do equals have, right? I used to be just a do guy, expecting to have everything, but I never became that person. And then the other one was who you are determines how well what you do works. I mean, that to me was everything. And I still live my life by those 2 principles, because that is so crucial, because everybody's all about do. I got to do this, I got to do that. You just got to be, man. So I appreciate that.
So we have one last question, which we ask everyone at the end of our calls, which is, there's a whole profession out there, right? And some of this profession's hurting. They go to some schools maybe that aren't as philosophically sound and have a little more struggle. It's a little more mechanistic, so they don't have that big, sort of philosophical push to change the world one spine at a time like we do maybe. Not a judgment, good or bad, it just is. But you have a lot of chiros out there. Where do you see chiropractic going?
Well, fortunately, I actually see it going in a direction. I think now, and I know people have been saying this for so many years, but I truly believe now is the best time to be a chiropractor. With what the world is going through, people are looking for leaders right now. And this is the best opportunity we have to step up as vitalistic and holistic, true to our profession, to really share with the community and show them what we're about. And, we're trying to do our part as Corrective Chiropractic. I know you guys are all trying to do your part. And it's been amazing to watch things change and grow over the last 10 years and people's mindset begin to shift. But honestly, I think this is the best time to do it. We're not an insurance-based practice. So for us, I don't care if insurance stays or goes, it doesn't really affect us at all. But this is definitely the best time. And from a cash-based office, I can tell you right now, people love chiropractic more than ever right now. It's the best. It's the best. And more kids are now being come in. I'm excited to see where this profession will be in 20 years from now, to be honest with you.
Love it.
If we hold true to our purpose, that's for sure.
Gotta stick to the purpose. Stop trying to be everything for everybody.
Right. Exactly right. Well, we come to the close of another great Tuesday night call, Austin. We can't thank you enough. It's so great having watched you grow up from when you were a student at Life and through when you first opened your practice until now, just killing it in every way, helping the profession, helping the public, and so many patients. And it's just amazing to watch, a homegrown person like yourself just getting it done, working hard, but making key awarenesses within yourself and with your environment, with your community, building relationships like no other. And these are all the keys. So, on behalf of Rick and myself and the rest of the team at Chiro Destiny and all of our leadership, and Larry, and Kimberly, we just really want to say thank you so much for giving your time tonight, giving your insights, and just allowing us to watch you grow and sharing that with everybody, because I know a lot of people learned a lot of it tonight.
Cool. Thanks, Dad.
I love you, brother.
No, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. We'll see you soon, buddy.
Bye. All right, guys. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.